Good morning. How are we all doing? Good to see you all. We were going to use semaphore before the microphones arrived, but we've got the mics, so we're good.
It is supposed to be like a rock concert in here, a music festival. I see the bamboo and all that we've got, so
nice.
It's very nice.
We actually, we did realize it was going to be a concert when we brought a set list, that was supposed to be taped to the floor. But because, we actually wanted to launch, Keith and I have just produced a new country album that we wanted to kind of share with you today. But we're not allowed to do that because it's not been officially launched yet. So we're gonna do what we planned to do, which was this talk.
Very good.
About the company. So just to kind of tee it up and to give you an idea of what we're going to talk about, Aflac Northern Ireland has been here in Belfast for a little bit over 2 years, and although it's a foreign direct investment company, like we just kind of teed up there, we feel there are kind of lessons that we've learned that I think are applicable to companies of all shapes and sizes, from startup organizations to new companies that are getting established to a range of different things. Now, we're not saying, right, health warning, disclaimer, we're not saying what we did was the right way to do things by any stretch of the imagination, but we just thought we'd share our story, our journey with you, and the lessons that we learned. So why are we here?
Yeah, so let me see if I can get the clicker working here. Just a little bit about Aflac, and like Mark said, we're not saying this is the right way to do it. In fact, we're not even recommending you do it this way. We're just saying this is how we did it. And there were maybe some things that you could take away. But a little bit about the company. So it's a 66-year-old health insurance company based in Columbus, Georgia. You'll see there the Aflac Tower. We're very proud of that tower. What you won't see around it is any other buildings. And the reason for that is we are a large company in a small town. In fact, Mark calls it kind of like a big Ballymena that we're in. So I took the liberty of zooming out and showing you what the rest of the town looks like around the tower through some handy Photoshop skills I have in PowerPoint. And that's basically what's around us, is more blue sky. So over time, we ran out of technical talent in Columbus, Georgia, and we had to start looking for new locations. So I was part of a team that in 2016 looked at 15 different cities across the globe before landing right here in Belfast. And the reason that we landed in Belfast really came down to three things. And we found it to be the most adaptable, reinventive, and resilient location of everywhere we saw. And the proof points for that we would say is, if you look at this picture of the harbor, and that's right where our offices are there in City Keys, this harbor that was once the linen capital of the world, and the rope-making capital of the world, and the shipbuilding capital of the world, doesn't do any of those things anymore. Instead, now it does world-class film productions, cybersecurity, and technology. More what the world needs now than rope. And so I think that if you go to a city that constantly reinvents itself for what it's known for, that's the best place to put a technology company, because the one thing we know that is constant with technology is change. And so if you go to a place that's used to changing and that has the resilience and the adaptability of a place like Belfast, that's a great place to put a technology company, because as the tech changes, the people can come with it. And I tell my friends in America, if you think you know Belfast today, you should see us tomorrow, because we'll be known for something completely different, and it'll be what the world needs at that time. So that's the reason why Aflac came all the way 4,009 miles away from Columbus, Georgia, into Belfast, and that was our attraction there. So the story goes like this, right? I get on a plane. In fact, I should tell this story real quick about our first visit, because they are the official clothier of Aflac Northern Ireland. And the story is the Bogart story. So here's what happened. We get off the plane at City Airport, and my boss, a guy called Virgil Miller, his luggage is missing. And he traveled in jeans and a T-shirt. And the next morning, we're going up to Stormont to meet with the First Minister and the Deputy First Minister. And Virgil has no clothes. And so it's 5:30 on a Tuesday night, and Bogart is about to close right there on Ann Street. Quick plug for Gary and the guys at Bogart. And they've got the shutters pulled halfway down, and we come in, and they have no idea who we're with. All they know is we're American for about a billion reasons. We walked up, they knew we were American before we opened our mouths. And we said, listen, we've lost our luggage. We have an important meeting in the morning. Could you sort us out? And they opened the shutters and brought us in, and we were there for about 45 minutes. And when Virgil had the trousers, they were too long. They didn't fit. And we said, well, what are we going to do? We don't know. We could try pinning it up. And one of the guys that worked there, a guy called Steven, said, listen, I'll take them home. My neighbor's a seamstress. We'll get them tailored for you. What time's your meeting? We said, it's at 8. He said, I'll be at 6:30 at your hotel with these trousers. And my boss, Virgil, said, if this is the kind of place that takes care of their fellow person, this is the kind of place where you want to set up a company. So that was a huge attraction. But fast forwarding, I get off an airplane 3 years later with this.
You didn't have like a team like this big Fortune 500 has a plan. There's like a SWAT team. People are going to jump out of helicopters and set up a new business here in Belfast.
Yeah, you'd think so, right? You think we would just like radio in and they would just deploy. I mean, it's a $40 billion company. You'd think they would just like send in a team that would do this. Instead, they bought me a $1,000 laptop and shipped me off to Belfast and said, good luck. And so that's what I showed up with, is a semi-impressive Hewlett-Packard laptop that you see on the screen. Not mine. I got this one on Google last night. But that's really all we had. So I came over here with a laptop, had met Mark on a couple of visits, and hired Mark, and we'll tell that story in just a second. But he didn't even have a laptop. He had his personal laptop. We didn't have a company laptop for him because we didn't have any purchasing set up or procurement. And then we found out that the keyboards are different in the UK and the US. I don't know if you know that, but just the symbols.
Absolutely nuts.
Well, I think we've improved on it, is what we've done. But either way, so we had to buy local, computers and all that, and that's kind of how raw it was. In fact, Mark, this picture might bring back some good memories for you.
It brings a tear to my eye, to be honest.
Yeah.
Great time.
So this is where I hired Mark. All the best hiring is done right here in this spot. Duke of York for those that are in the area here. And I said to Mark, well, listen, this is the plan. We're going to start this company. It's going to be great. And I'd like you to be a part of it. What do you say? And he said, I'm in. And so we shook hands and had a pint of Guinness. And then he, after a minute or two, said, well, do you have like a contract? And I was, no. What's a contract, So Mark had to help write his own contract, which I probably should review.
It's a great contract. There are some top quality clauses in there.
So literally, there was no contract. So Mark helped write the first contract, and that's sort of where we started. So he actually started for the first week without any payroll set up, any contract, just details.
I mean, I'm sort of assuming I'd get paid at some point. I mean, there's a lot of trust.
Keep assuming. It'll come.
Someday.
Another 2 years, and it should come. Mark, do you want to talk about one of our first purchases?
No. Every tech company, what's the first thing you need, right? That's a whiteboard. Whiteboard and some markers. It's not about, high-tech innovation. This is what it's all about. So our very first purchase was a whiteboard just like this one. Because if you're going to set up a company, you kind of need to have a strategy. And if you need a strategy, you need a whiteboard. That's how it works. So that's how we got going. But it's a very special whiteboard because it was double-sided.
It would flip over, but then everything you wrote would be upside down. So we learned you have to turn it this way, not flip it over. These are the things, again, we're going to share our learnings. Maybe you can apply this in your company. But, one thing you'll see is, the strategy for a company started with less than 100 pounds, because you could see we got this literally off Amazon. And I was quick to point out to the company, we've already saved 13% just by setting up in Belfast. We're saving money already with things like buying on Amazon. So on one side, we wrote the strategy for the company, and on the other side, we wrote the tactics for the company. And every morning, we'd come in and we'd write down new things we thought of the night before that we might need, and we'd cross off things that we accomplished yesterday. And we still have this whiteboard. We're now in a permanent office with white walls, but we still keep the whiteboard around because we feel like we owe it something.
Will it be like when you visit Apple's headquarters and they show you like a 25-year-old Mac?
That's this for us.
Put this in a glass booth and say, this was the whiteboard. This was where it all started.
That's it.
Hewlett-Packard has a garage, but we have a whiteboard.
We have a whiteboard, and I built this thing in our office and installed the wheels wrong, so it doesn't move because I put the pivoting wheel on each corner instead of one side. These are the things you learn. But the strategy that we had, the first strategy we wrote down, and Mark, it looks like you made this quote in 1984 based on the graphics. But
that is beautiful.
Do you want to talk about your strategy here?
I love this. I've never seen this before. This is just great. So it kind of goes back to what we talked about and kind of why we're here. It's about the people and the skills that we have here in Northern Ireland. And so my philosophy has always been, skills can be trained, people can learn new things, and it's about having the right culture and the right mindset in order to make the most of that. And if you can build what the quote is here, right, the most adaptable skills delivery system Belfast, Northern Ireland, possibly the world has ever seen, and you can keep adapting and innovating and changing what you can do, then you're bulletproof, right? Whatever comes along in terms of innovation, new technology, new skill sets, then that's what we can provide. And that's exactly what we have looked to establish here in Northern Ireland. So that's kind of the common thread that we have run through everything that we do. We might do Java, we might do AI, we might do Angular, we might do Pega, we might do whatever it is, but the core skill is adaptability and being able to learn new skills and new technologies.
And with this as a core strategy, and you'll remember back to one of the 3 words of why we picked Belfast was that adaptability. We overinvest in training and retraining our people. We are happy to support them. There's a lot of them here today. We're happy to support them in any training they want, so much so that you're not bonus eligible every year if you have not learned a new language, code, or skill. It's not like 5% of personal accomplishment is personal learning or whatever. It's you don't get a bonus at all if you have not bettered yourself and learned a new skill. At our cost, and we'll pay you both for the time and the course, but we want to make sure that everybody here is learning the newest stuff so that this can continue to be the tip of the spear for Aflac as a company. So all the technologies that we work on here in Belfast are the newest and the most difficult to understand, and we use this team to deliver them and make them enterprise available for us. So that was the strategy. The other strategy was to put in a leadership team, right off the bat, was to hire a strong leadership team.
Are these the actual leadership team, or is this just models that we hired for the photo?
I mean, obviously they're models.
Right.
I photoshopped you and me in there, but the rest are models. But
look at the guy on the left. He is incredible.
It is a team to be reckoned with. I mean, if that doesn't say success, I don't. That was a tried and true shot that we took there, but. Bringing together a leadership team, and it's all a local leadership team. So other than myself with a funny accent I've got, everybody else is local here. And our plan is that this is a completely local company, and I'll return to the States at some point and let this be a totally Northern Irish company and run. So bringing in the right skill set up front was very important to us, and that helped attract a lot of the other talent that we would get. Then there were tactics, like maybe it was 2 or 3 weeks into it. I think you might have said to me, I think we should pay taxes.
We should at least think about it.
I was like,
if there's one thing I've learned from Jimmy Carr, you should pay taxes.
We should pay taxes. So it was things like that, like, okay, then we need an accounting firm to help us pay taxes. So we found an accounting firm. Just small details, like we should probably pay taxes too. We should probably pay our people, and maybe not in cash like this.
This looks like a bribe.
It does, but this is we should pay our people, so we need payroll set up, and the things that, again, you have this vision of setting up a tech company, but sometimes you forget that you also have to pay taxes, you have to pay people. You're going to need things like office furniture, chairs. The folks from 1080 are here. They outfitted our office for us. So it's things like that. It's real estate, it's the fire safety plan, it's a paternity leave, a maternity leave, all of those things that when you're thinking about Angular and Ionic and Pega and robotics, you just have to remind yourself you also need the entire infrastructure. And like Mark said, there was no team at Aflac that dropped in and did this. So we started writing it down, so if we ever had to do it again, there'd be a playbook for us. But these tactics were on the opposite side of the whiteboard from the strategy that you saw, which was the adaptable skills delivery system. Another strategy that we had early was
another quote from, was it the 70s this time?
Yeah, we're going back in time here. Build for speed and refine for efficiency. So we quickly wanted to get up to speed. Like, we needed credit cards very quickly, but we had no credit as a company. So I told you a few minutes ago, it's a $40 billion company in the US, Fortune 137. But in the UK, we have no history, no credit. And they're like, we could give you $1,000 credit or £1,000. We're like, we'll take it. And next month we'll make it 2,000 pounds, and so on and so forth. But we needed things like credit cards to buy things because you can't pay cash for things. And so we quickly built for speed, but then we're going back and saying, okay, is that the best setup that we have? Is there a different relationship we should get? Because we wanted to get going quickly and get momentum, but we wanted to come back and make sure that, is this scalable? Going from startup to now what is a 130-person company, things are much different. And we also employed, I think, a very successful strategy early on. I'd recommend to anyone thinking about doing anything like this, was our farm to fork strategy. So we decided that all of our providers of everything we did, our vertical integration for the company would be all local to Northern Ireland. So the accounting firm that we used, we had relationships with the Big Four as a big company in the U.S., but instead we used an accounting firm that's right near Inst. And we use lawyers who are right near the Albert Clock. And our website and our marketing firm is right above the Dark Horse. Our benefits are out of Macrofelt. That's hard to say. And but I practiced. Hopefully I got it right. If anyone's from there, I'm sorry. And then Port Stewart is where we have our applicant tracking system. So everything that we've done, our furniture provider is 1080, which is here local. Everything that we've done, we've used local providers and wanted to make sure that this was a Northern Ireland company, even though it's serving a U.S. and Japanese customer. And I think that farm to fork really paid off for us because it gave us instant relationships with people and started to build our brand in town. So that
also autonomy, right? We got to take decisions here locally where we didn't have to continuously go back to someone in the US and say, please, mother, may I? Like, we could actually take decisions, move with the speed that you talked about, and get things done quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we could walk over to our lawyer's office to review the real estate contract because they're near the Albert Clock, and we were at Clockwise in the River House at the time, walk over to the accountants and understand HMRC and how we're going to reclaim VAT tax. Just that ability to take a city this size and be able to walk the city and see all of your providers and partners was so much better than picking up the phone to someone in America, also having 5 other people from Aflac on the call because they own the relationship. It would have slowed us down. So the farm to fork, or as they would call over at Bushmills, the grain to glass strategy of keeping it all local was very very important to us. And then we took some risks. Mark, do you want to talk about one of the first big risks that we took?
Yeah, so we won't go and say that you have it all figured out, but we knew that one of the things that we wanted to do at the very beginning was broaden the talent base, and we also wanted to be kind of a good player here in the local tech ecosystem. And that means when you start up a new organization, you're not just, quote unquote, pinching people from other companies. Some people want to come because they want to change and they see a new opportunity, and that's great. But you can't grow to a significant size unless you've got other strategies. So one of the things that we did really early on was run an assured skills program. And that takes people who come from a range of different backgrounds, non-IT backgrounds, and are taught the skills that they need to work in the tech sector. And really early on, we decided that's what we would do. Arguably, in hindsight, maybe a little bit too early on because we were really only just getting started. I think we maybe had 13 or 14 people in the company in totality, and we brought 12 people in from the Assured Skills Program. So we almost doubled the size of the company. And as you might imagine, the folks that are coming in, they need help, they need support, they need to understand, how things work. So it did probably temporarily slow us down because you've got to make that investment in those new people that join the organization. But in the end, we were thinking, I like to think 3 or 4 steps ahead. We weren't just thinking about, the immediate delivery or the things that we needed to do from a project perspective. We were thinking about what we were going to need to have a year ahead, 2 years ahead. And so we took a risk that I feel really paid off. We got some fantastic people. Some of the folks in this photograph have backgrounds like a medical doctor who just did not want to do that anymore and wanted to get into tech, a professional tennis coach who wanted to completely change direction in their career, a journalist who just really wanted to change the direction and wanted to move it. And you just get this incredible cognitive diversity in your teams as a result because people are coming from very different backgrounds to help you solve technical problems. And whilst that was a risk, it's one that I would say unbelievably paid off for us.
Yeah, the team has been amazing, but when we were 13 and taking on 12, not only new people to us, but new people to technology, it really put a strain on the first 13 that had to help bring that to speed, but it's paid off. And we're now talking about running a second Assured Skills Academy for this very reason. But it's a risk that it was definitely worth taking, and I'd recommend to anyone about cultivating your own talent because, like Mark said, that cognitive diversity. I mean, one of the people here was driving a forklift at B&Q and is now a data visualization scientist for a Fortune 500 company, and she's a genius. And we found her at B&Q, and the Department for the Economy helped us identify and bring her through the program. Not that there's anything wrong with driving a forklift at B&Q, that's also wonderful, but the data visualization is amazing that she's doing. Another risk we took was we signed a lease for a 10-year lease for a 120-person office when we had 7 employees. So my hand was shaking when I was signing this, because it was like, I looked at Mark and I was like, so we have 7 employees and this is a 10-year lease for 120 people. It's kind of a field of dreams. If they build it, if you build it, they will come.
The ground.
And I was like, Mark, you're sure we're going to find all these folks, right?
They're in B&Q. Just go get them there.
So we walked the aisles of B&Q when we filled the office. But that was a big risk for us at the time. But it was important to us as an unknown brand here to show our commitment to the city and to say to the country that we're here, we're all in. You know, we're an insurance company, so we're slow to make a decision sometimes, but once we make it, we've made a 50-year decision. We sell 50-year cancer policies and critical illness policies, so we take the long view. So we signed this 10-year lease, 7 people, and then all of a sudden this happened, right? And it was like, work from home, you don't need an office. And I was thinking, but we have an office, and it's great. So we actually took possession of the office June of last year. By took possession, I mean, we started paying for it. We didn't have anyone in it. We still have some chairs in the office that still have the tags on the furniture as we've started to try to rotate people back in. And we look forward to getting back into the office. But this was a curveball about 6 months after our launch that obviously nobody in this room saw coming and was a challenge. But I think for us, it ended up being a benefit in some sense that we became equal to the folks in the U.S. because we were working from home in Ballycastle and they were working from home in Milton. And you know, the kitchens are the same and the bedrooms are the same and the offices are the same. So we didn't lose out on any conversations that were happening in the hallway. We didn't miss out on any lunchtime banter because there was none of that. Everybody was reduced to a computer screen and their home. And I think for us, that helped us really get relationships and get started because we weren't left out because we were 4,000 miles away. You know, in a work from home, 4,000 miles away or 4 miles away is the same thing. So, but that was definitely a challenge. And everyone has their COVID story. But for us, it was, we had just signed a lease for a building, and then the whole world's going to work from home, which we don't subscribe to. We think that there's a hybrid and a balance, couple days in, couple days out. But the community and the collaboration you get, in my opinion, if everybody's virtual, that's not a company. That's just an online group. That's a chat room doing work. And the company is people that come together, collaborate, and have a good time as well. Speaking of that good time, some of the things that we did before lockdown, of course, we didn't know it was coming, but we really invested in bringing our team together. And so these were the first 13 people or so. Went to Prison Island, highly recommended if they're reopened now. Did some team building there, but we spent a lot of time doing team building in the beginning, which would pay off, and that would help us get through what would be very difficult to establish a culture while working remote. So I'm thankful for the 6 months we had together and the amount of things we did together at things like Prison Island here.
And so we built on that because then you're into a remote way of working, but we still want to maintain the culture. And so we try to get, like a lot of companies, that get creative, think about how we can do things and align with a lot of things that we felt were very important to us as a company. So we wanted to do things where we could make a difference. We wanted to support some of the charities that we were passionate about. And so we, just as one example, we all came together and tried to run, walk, swim, or cycle the 4,009 miles that it is between Belfast and Columbus in Georgia. And so we all worked as a team to do that over a month. And that was just a brilliant way to achieve a bunch of different goals together.
And something that worked well during lockdown. Other things that we did is we tried to compete with Amazon to see who could do more home deliveries.
Yeah.
Aflac or Amazon. So we sent out things like socks, which I'm wearing a pair here. Yes. That picture is actually, I got that online. That's one of our employees handing the socks to, at the time, President Trump. We were literally giving everybody these socks, including President Trump.
Really, no discernment whatsoever. You really, who's next?
You didn't have to be anybody. 70 people in Belfast got them, plus a bunch of other folks that we could get them to. But we also sent out, we had happy hours. We'd do virtual happy hours where we'd send a full cocktail kit to the house, and then we'd get on Zoom and you could have a cocktail with people. To sending out seeds for flowers so people could plant things in their garden. Tried to do as much as we could culturally during lockdown, during the first lockdown and the second lockdown, to bring the team together and to try to keep spirits up. Including things like a socially distanced walk of Cave Hill there, and the weather worked with us. We did a few of these, and now we actually have wellness walks I think they're about once a month that we do as a team. Maybe it's once a quarter, but it's about once a month. And that's just a great time, especially in this environment, to get outside and be with each other, take a couple hours, and then we have it catered for breakfast. So all those calories you worked off, you can put right back in, so you stay net neutral.
Calorie neutral.
That's it. You want to be calorie neutral.
Never mind carbon neutral, calorie neutral.
That's exactly right. It's the new thing. To Christmas.
Wow. Nice.
So we decided instead of sending out gifts, we would hand deliver gifts. This is in 2020. So we had a portal where people could order things online. We required that everything that was ordered online had to be made in Northern Ireland. So you got 25 choices, but they were only Northern Irish goods. And then we just split up the 80 people that we had and drove all around the province dressed like this. There were some funny stories of different things that happened with people as they were going around dressed like this, but keep in mind, in a world when the only people out were the postman and the Amazon man, we were showing up dressed like Santa and the elves.
All I'll say is there are 2 farmers in Castlewellan who still haven't got over the giant elf that turned up.
Because we'd get lost, especially myself, and you'd have to ask for directions to someone's house dressed as Santa with an American accent in the middle of a pandemic. It was exciting for sure. But we thought that it was a personal touch. Our employees hadn't seen anyone in a long time, and so to knock on their door and drop off the gift, children were screaming and crying out of fear, things like that. It was great. And what's funny is to see this picture was taken in the exact same spot as this picture. And I kind of feel like it's like what you ordered and what you got, from a leadership team standpoint, because we're so serious and trying to look tough. And then that's really who we are there. But that was something very, very important to us. And then now fast forwarding to where we are. So this is a picture we celebrated on LinkedIn of our 100th employee, and now we're currently up to 130. Our goal is to get to 150, so we're nearly there. We have about 20 more roles. Our booth's over there if you want to talk to us. But we do have about 20 more roles, and we want to get to that 150 and about stay at that number, because we want to be a big enough team to take on major work, but a small enough team to still be able to dress like Santa and deliver gifts, or to be able to go on a wellness walk together, or to know everyone's name and know everybody's project. We don't want anyone to ever feel like a number. We want to make sure that everybody's a name and that we know what you're doing and you know what the other people are doing. So that's where we are as of today. And then the last thing, I would say, just sort of in wrapping up, is, for us, we think that the office space is an important part. It's something that we look forward to getting back into. This is a picture of our office there in City Keys. Obviously, we want to do what's right. We want to do it safe. It's wonderful to see people in person and an environment to here together. But we really look forward to having people be able to come back into the office. And we were very fortunate last week to have 2 of our American executives visit the team. So we had our CIO and our CISO both fly over here from the States. And these 2 gentlemen hadn't seen anything in 2 years. The last time they were here, Mark was our only employee. We were still working on his contract, so maybe he wasn't really an employee, but he was working. And the office was just rubble, and it hadn't yet been developed or designed. And these folks were to come see a 130-person team that is doing artificial intelligence and data science, and is doing web and mobile apps, and is doing Pega automation, and all of the different things that we're doing here. These guys were blown away what's happened in 2 years, and really it's a tribute to the talent here in Northern Ireland. The folks in America, the comment that Rich Gilbert, our CIO, said is that this is the best kept secret in all of the company. So it's a company in the U.S., Japan, and a small operation in Northern Ireland. But he said it's the best kept secret in all of the company because of the talent that we've been able to bring in. So that's a little bit about our story. That mural is Belfast in the middle, Columbus, Georgia. You'll see the Aflac Tower on your right. And then on the left is Tokyo. But we just wanted to thank you guys for listening to our story. It's a fireside chat minus the fire, but obviously a very casual chat. We didn't want to get into technology. But Mark, I know you've got kind of a closing thought about developing the newest technologies here.
Well, the only thing I'd say on top of what Keith has added is just what we've been able to achieve here has been truly special and really significant. And the teams that we have now in Belfast are now driving a significant amount of change across that Fortune 500 company. And that's down to the capability that we've built. And despite the challenges that we've experienced, and despite the challenges we've all been through, the resilience of the team, the skills that they have made all the difference, and we can't wait to see what's next as we do the latest with data, AI, microservices, experience platforms, the whole thing. So really excited for the future, and thank you all so much for taking a few minutes to listen to us today. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.